Welcome to our channel, Psyverge.
What if I told you that the key to becoming mentally unbreakable isn't found in comfort, positivity, or peace, but in embracing the very things you've been taught to run from? What if your strength, your real, raw, indestructible strength, has been buried beneath fear, pain, and rejection? Friedrich Nietzsche believed that to become powerful, you had to stop avoiding suffering, and instead, learn to use it. Not just endure it, use it. What if one shift in your mindset could flip everything? Make you immune to manipulation, criticism, even emotional collapse? The world keeps telling you to chase happiness, to find your purpose, to manifest positivity. But Nietzsche would have laughed at that. Because the truth is, anyone can feel powerful when life is easy. The test is what happens when it's not. When people betray you, when everything falls apart, when the voices in your head start whispering you're not enough. Nietzsche didn't believe in breaking down in those moments. He believed in breaking through them. He called it becoming who you are. And to do that, you have to embrace something darker, something deeper. Let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to be strong by pretending you weren't hurting? By wearing a mask and acting like nothing bothers you? It doesn't work. Because pretending isn't power. Nietzsche understood that real power starts when you stop trying to escape your pain and instead confront it. Brutally, honestly, fearlessly. He once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But the secret no one tells you is that most people don't have a why of their own. They just inherit one from the crowd. And when life punches them in the gut, that second-hand why collapses. That's not strength, that's borrowed purpose. Here's where the mental shift comes in. Nietzsche believed that the strongest people are the ones who become their own creators, who stop looking for meaning and start creating it. And to do that, you have to walk through darkness without flinching. That shift, from victim to creator, is everything. It's not just about survival. It's about transformation. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start asking, "What will I do with this?" That question flips the entire script. It makes you unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get harder to shake. This is where Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or the Overman, comes in. He's not talking about a superhero with muscles and a cape. He's talking about someone who transcends society's expectations, someone who forges their own identity, their own morality, their own meaning, not in spite of suffering, but through it. That's dark psychology. That's power forged in chaos. Most people avoid discomfort, try to fit in, stay safe. The Übermensch dives into discomfort, breaks the mold, and risks becoming something entirely new. And in that risk lies liberation. So, what holds you back from becoming unbreakable? Fear, shame. Nietzsche believed those things are not enemies, they're teachers. He saw the darker emotions not as signs of weakness, but as raw materials for greatness. He wanted you to confront your envy, your rage, your guilt, and alchemize them into fuel. The moment you stop being afraid of your dark side is the moment you gain control over it. That's the shift. That's when you stop being controlled by your emotions and start using them as weapons. But there's a catch. This transformation doesn't happen by accident. It requires something Nietzsche called will to power. It's not about dominating others. It's about dominating yourself, your reactions, your excuses, your self-pity. Will to power is the force that says, "I will rise no matter what happens. I will turn my scars into symbols. I will not beg for peace. I will carve my own path through hell if I have to." That kind of mindset doesn't come from therapy slogans or self-help books. It comes from war. An internal war where you kill off who you were to become who you need to be. Here's something Nietzsche understood better than most. The desire for comfort is the beginning of weakness. Every time you avoid conflict, every time you silence your own truth to be liked, every time you retreat into safety, you trade strength for approval. He believed that suffering is necessary, not because it's noble, but because it's real. And nothing built on denial can last. You only become unbreakable by walking through your private hell with your eyes open and saying, "Good, let it hurt. I'm still here." But what about failure? What about those moments when everything crumbles? Nietzsche had a brutal answer for that too. He believed you had to be willing to love your fate. Not just accept it, but embrace it. The Latin phrase he admired was Amor Fati, love of fate. That means loving every setback, every betrayal, every heartbreak as part of your path to power. Because if you only love life when it's easy, you don't love life. You love comfort, and comfort never made anyone great. This one mental shift, from fearing pain to using it, is where most people fall short. They want the results of strength without the process. But Nietzsche knew the truth. The strongest people aren't the ones who were protected. They're the ones who were burned, scarred, and forged by fire, and chose to keep going. That kind of will isn't gifted. It's earned. Through discipline, through confrontation, through evolution. You don't find yourself by meditating on a mountaintop. You find yourself in the middle of your deepest crisis, when no one's coming to save you, and you decide to save yourself. Let me ask you again. Are you willing to stop hiding from your darkness? Are you ready to look it in the eye and say, "This is where I begin"? That's what Nietzsche's philosophy is really about. Becoming your own damn hero. Not because you were born different, but because you refused to stay the same. You stopped outsourcing your strength to religion, to society, to other people's opinions. You realized that everything you need is already inside you, waiting for you to wake it up. So next time life breaks something in you, don't try to glue it back together the same way. Smash it all the way. Rebuild it with steel. Use your wounds like armor. Turn your silence into strategy. Your pain into precision. Your doubt into fire. That's the Nietzschean path. And it's not for everyone. It's only for those who are done being puppets, who are ready to become creators, who are done waiting for permission to become dangerous. If you make this one shift, if you stop running from what breaks you and start using it to build a sharper version of yourself, you will become someone who can't be manipulated, can't be emotionally shattered, can't be erased by other people's opinions, because your strength will no longer depend on what happens to you. It will come from what you choose to do with it. And that choice is where your real power begins. But before you walk away thinking this is all about raw toughness or emotionless endurance, let's be clear. Nietzsche's idea of becoming unbreakable wasn't about becoming numb. It wasn't about suppressing emotion or pretending nothing affects you. That's not strength. That's avoidance dressed up in ego. What Nietzsche challenged you to do was far more difficult, to feel everything and still stay standing, to let life hit you, to let it bleed, and still not surrender your direction. That's where the real transformation happens. Not in detachment, but in dominance over your own reaction. Think about the last time something rattled you. Maybe it was a betrayal, a loss, a sudden collapse of everything you thought was certain. Your instinct might have been to collapse inward, to protect yourself, to wait it out. But Nietzsche would have told you, lean in, let the sting do its work, let it reveal what you were clinging to. Most of the time, it's not the event that breaks you. It's your resistance to it, the fear of what it means, the story you tell yourself afterward. Nietzsche's wisdom was in burning those illusions to the ground. He wasn't preaching stoicism. He was preaching something more primal, something that doesn't deny suffering, but devours it. The kind of strength that doesn't ask for comfort, but asks for clarity. Because once you know where your breaking points are, you can push past them. You can stretch them. You can transform them into thresholds. That's the dark psychology of Nietzsche, turning wounds into windows. Every time life pushes you to the edge, you learn something no one else can teach you, about who you are without the mask. Here's another thing people get wrong. They think Nietzsche's path is lonely, that becoming unbreakable means cutting yourself off from others, being the lone wolf. But the truth is, most people are surrounded and still alone, still hiding, still pretending. Nietzsche's version of strength allows you to connect with others not because you need them, but because you've already found your foundation. You're not leaning on them. You're meeting them as an equal, not craving validation, but offering presence. And that's where real relationships begin. Not from a place of dependency, but from self-possession. The Übermensch doesn't manipulate, doesn't conform, doesn't shrink. He or she attracts others not by trying, but by being fully embodied, fully alive, fully grounded in their own becoming. That kind of energy is magnetic, not because it tries to be, but because it's rare. Most people chase surface-level connections. Nietzsche's path teaches you how to build something deeper, rooted in truth, not performance.